Oh, there we go. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about a project that Steve and I did at Yelp. We did a project to do inclusive communication or sensitivity training. We're going to talk about our rationale, our methodology, and some key takeaways. Our goal is to raise awareness and hopefully give you something you can take with you and maybe emulate on your own in your own context. Oh, this is a... Let's flip through these.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're lucky at Yelp that our upper management actually cares about diversity and inclusion, and so there are several programs in play, both to try and help improve the pipeline as well as improve inclusion within the company. And so Gabe and I worked on one of these projects, which was to look at in communication, specifically in engineering, and how we could improve that. So our focus was on uncovering internal trends. We didn't just want to grab some report from general industry trends. We wanted to look at what's actually happening in Yelp. And then we wanted to process the results, look for actionable steps, things that our managers could reproduce. And then we presented it to our managers. They're our culture makers. They're the folks that reward behaviors that are good, and so we wanted to help them be empowered to do something. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through the presentation that we gave to our managers, and we've added some call-outs for you today to help explain why we did the certain things that we did. Cool. Okay, so the first slide, we wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page. So we had some terms and definitions. We wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page, at least for this presentation. And also specifically call out that inclusion is an action. We wanted to make our managers aware that they could do something. Then we wanted to reinforce why this was important to them. And so we combined two thoughts. One from industry, that diversity and inclusion make their teams better. And then two, why it was important at Yelp, that it aligns with our values, and that it's their responsibility as managers to enforce our values and uphold them. Then we wanted to make sure we had some buy-in. So I think most of our managers agree that Yelp is a great culture, but we wanted to draw attention to the things that were invisible to them, things that they might not have thought about if they don't experience them. And so we started by clarifying, hey, here's our process. We went out to discover. We talked to our employee resource group leads, the folks that are out there that know what's happening. We gathered information, processed it, and here are managers who want to present it to you. Then before we got to the results, most of the things we discovered, it was, as I'm sure you'll not be surprised, was a lot of microaggressions, which a lot of our managers might kind of understand, but we wanted to make sure that they did. So we clarified that, on their own, they might not seem so important, but it's the cumulative effect, and the fact that for folks in marginalized or underrepresented groups, the effect is magnified. Excuse me. This slide is a summary slide. We had 3 or 4 slides like this for our managers talking about negative issues. For you all today, we just want to show you a sample of this, but to draw attention to the fact that the important part here was to not just mention the negative behaviors, but more importantly, the impact, so that they could develop some empathy for our folks. And then at this point, the room was somber. Folks were a little bit sad, they were kind of depressed, some feeling a little bit of guilt. But we wanted them to leave feeling empowered to make change. And so we took a pause and we told a quick story. And the story was that Gabe and I were talking. He had been away for the weekend and was hearing the phrase, "you guys," everywhere. People all around him were saying it. And Gabe had been to allyship training and knew that there are better ways to refer to a group of many people, you folks, everyone, etc. And so he was wrestling with this and thinking to himself, but you guys is just like California vernacular or American vernacular. It's just what we say. Maybe it's not so bad. But then he stopped himself and said, no, hold on. I know I can say something better. I can do better here. And so then we adopted this and told this story and said, we can do better as a group. The point here was to move people away from feeling they had to fix everything and to just feel like, hey, I can do something. So yeah, we can do better. So then we moved to the positive behaviors. These are, again, from the results from interviewing our ERG leads. So these are things we wanted our folks to see, again, to know the impact, but also to know that they could reproduce them, that they could go out there and make sure that their teams function in a way that were more inclusive.
Great. So after going through microaggressions and understanding both the negative impact of microaggressions and some positive behaviors that we felt like we should continue to do, we wanted to really leave people with some actionable tools and an understanding that if they do see something that's triggering behavior, it's their responsibility to act and to give them some positive reinforcement that they can do it, as well as some tools to actually do it. So next slide, please. Luckily, at Yelp, we benefit from a lot of people that are interested in D&I and have done some of this work before. I actually stole this quick way to halt negative behavior from Jenny Snyder, who worked as head of one of our women's groups, Awesome Women in Engineering. And it's just a quick way when you see triggering behavior to say, we don't do that here. Being able to shut down triggering behavior is hard for people. We have a lot of new managers, and we felt like we wanted to make it really, really easy and just give them a very, very quick thing that they could say and not have to think of it on their own. Next slide, please. And then we also wanted to be able to give people something to say for that follow-up conversation. Let's say you shut something down and you need to follow up with the person that said it, or just talk to people about why it's important to you that we use inclusive communication and we are sensitive to our fellow employees. So we came up with this. We felt like it was non-controversial, didn't require understanding things in a specific political context, but still gets the point across. Next slide, please. Finally, we wrapped it up, summarized. We wanted to leave people with 3 things. To remember to say, hey, we don't do that here if we see some triggering behavior. Also to challenge people to practice a new habit. In our context, we thought an easy one to do would be replacing guys with folks when you're trying to refer to a you plural situation. And then finally, we invited people to join the conversation to do more research on their own by linking our internal wiki with more D&I resources for people.
Okay, so that's the end of the slides that we presented to our managers. So next slide, please. So for you, here's the final slide for you. We want to leave you with 3 thoughts about how you could take something like this and do it in your own context. So first of all, who are the influencers where you're at? Who are the people who already know what's going on? And who are the people who can then make a change? So for us, that was our ERG leads and then our engineering managers. How will you discover the issues in a way that can be presented? Think about whether that's one-on-one interviews, maybe in a group setting, maybe a Google survey, whatever works for you. Just make it happen. And then finally, what reproducible steps can you discover? How can you synthesize those results and present it in a way that the people who are going to make the change will understand what they can do and how they can do it? Next slide.
I think that's it.
Is that it? Okay, cool.
That's it.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.